Welcome to the Restoration Domination Podcast, where you learn actionable advice that moves the needle and helps service-based businesses dominate. Here's your host, Rico Garcia Jr.
All righty, we are back with another legal corner, which actually for today, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and scrap the legal corner and just do branding corner for today's edition with our very own Lawyer Britt, Brittany Alexander, helping us dominate. What's going on? How are you?
Fantastic, as always. Glad to be back.
As per usual. Yeah. Cool. So we were talking a little bit off camera about, the law is exciting to a degree when there's exciting things to talk about. But as of right now, there's really nothing on the forefront, nothing massive as far as some additional changes. So one thing that you are spectacular at, amongst a ton of other things, is branding, using social media, and just getting your overall message out there. And maybe some of the contractors that tune into the show, they're like, oh, well, that works. If I was an attorney, that's probably what I would do, right? And they just can't quite translate to using the same kind of methods as you do, perhaps, in their construction business or the restoration business. So kind of like, let's dig into like the whole branding aspect and how, social media has really made a difference in your business, and kind of give us like that backstory a little bit for maybe the people that are just joining us for the first time on our quote unquote legal corner. Fill us in on that.
So I don't think I truly realized how important branding, especially personal branding, but just branding overall, is for business and marketing. Whether you are part of a company or you are building your own company, have your own company, just having a brand that will attract clients to you is so important. So back before I was Lawyer Britt, before I had my profiles on social media, before I was marketing, I was speaking with one of my best friends' boyfriends. I mean, they had been together for years. We're having a conversation, and he says, just offhand, like, oh, hey, what kind of law do you practice again? And I was like, I've known this kid for 5 years and he doesn't know what kind of law I even practice. How is anybody going to know what law I practice? How is anybody going to know what kind of, cases to send me and how to refer me business? Like, nobody is going to know, right? So I kind of realized in that moment that I needed to do something extra to start building my brand and letting people know who I help and how I help them, so that those people could recognize, hey, here's someone that I could refer to Britt. Here's someone that might need Britt's help, and I'll send them her way. And that's how you kind of get business. So that's like the foundation of why marketing and branding is so important. So marketing is just obviously putting out content to bring clients to you, to attract clients to you, to have them contact you, to work with you. But then branding is creating a story and a feeling that people remember enough so that they can also refer you business, or they know when they need you and when to contact you. That's your brand, right? So those are two very important components, because in today's day and age, everybody knows at least a few roofers, or has heard of a few roofers. Everybody knows a few contractors and restoration companies and lawyers and adjusters, right? We all know a few of them. So it's like, how do they choose who they want to work with? How do they know that you can help them? That's through branding, creating your brand that people connect with.
What's your suggestion for what someone should do if they have multiple interests, right? Because a lot of contractors, they also love like fishing, right? And that's part of their personality. That's part of like who they are. Or maybe, I don't know, they're in like a bowling league. I don't know. A bowling league still a thing? Anyways, let us know in the comments below. But whatever it is, the point is that, maybe restoration isn't their go-to passion, right? So I think that for a lot of people, they kind of find it feels very difficult for them to be original and to kind of capture pictures and or create stories around that. So should it be a company brand or should it be a personal brand? I mean, I have my own personal opinions on the matter and what's more effective, but I want to hear what you think.
Both. You need a personal brand for yourself and you need a company brand for your company. So I am Lawyer Britt. That is my personal brand. And then I own a law firm, Premier Property Law, and that is the Premier Property Law brand. So they can commingle and they can, one, overriding the other at times. But you need both because you may not always have your restoration company. You may not always have your adjusting company. I may not always have my law firm, or maybe I open other businesses too. So you need to have your personal brand as well. And that's where you tie in some of the more personal things. It's what's a personal brand. It's about you as a human being. So if you like fishing, you can post stuff about fishing. You have kids, post stuff about your kids. You like to travel like me, post stuff about traveling. So you can have a personal brand that people connect with and they're like, oh yeah, like I know Britt, she loves to go to Italy. And I know Britt, she loves to, do this, that, and the other thing. Or I know Rico, he loves to go out and have a good time. So it's like everybody's got their thing that people can remember about them, and that's your personal brand.
That's
and then
what
you
you
also
remember
have,
about me, that I like to go out and have a good time.
it's the first thing that came to mind. Okay.
we may have to edit this part out, but whatever. We'll see. We'll revisit this. People who probably know me like intimately were like, yep, she knows him all right. Anyways, so on the personal branding side, though, it's interesting, right? Because there's this fear. A lot of people don't talk about this, but there's this fear about getting pigeonholed into a certain sector of the market where that's what you're known for. And then it's very difficult to kind of break out of that. Is there like any recommendations that you would make to kind of prevent that, or to have a little bit more freedom within your own personal brand to where you don't have that feeling of being pigeonholed?
I don't think pigeonholing is really a thing. I think you can always pivot, or you can always expand. I mean, this is an extreme example, but let's take Kim Kardashian. She started out
right.
as
This
a reality TV show star, right? Like she was just like outrageous and on TV, basically Paris Hilton, different version, darker hair. And then she started pivoting into other business ventures like makeup and self-tanner. And now she's opening a private equity firm. So I don't think pigeonholing is really possible. I think building your brand as you and what you like and what you enjoy and how your personality is what's going to be important, because you can always venture into the next thing. Because by putting content out there about your new thing or your new venture or your new interest, you're going to start creating that as the norm for somebody to see and to recognize and relate to you. It's always going to happen.
How should a company use social media? So for example, let's talk about a restoration company. How should a restoration company use social media and this personal branding, but at the same time also kind of harness the power of their employees, let's say, in their social media accounts and what they're posting in order to kind of help your own personal brand or the company brand?
I don't think it's necessary for employees to help build the company brand, but if somebody has an interest in doing that, whether they want to be on the company pages, running the company pages, or they have their own page and it complements the company page because they refer back to, those are both good options. I don't think it's necessary for building your company brand. If somebody's interested in it, great. I don't require any of my employees to be involved in anything, but I do have employees that will follow me on social media. When I post something related to prepared property law, they'll repost it. Or they'll say, hey, we did this great thing, or you know what I mean? So there are opportunities for that, but I don't think it's required to have a successful company brand.
Right. So one thing that I've recommended quite a bit, and I think that for the restoration industry, you can kind of get away with it a lot more just because you have these route marketers that, are out and about. They're representing your business day in and day out. So from a company umbrella standpoint, those are all potential company assets, right? And it's also a way to have like your people in the field as they're prospecting in a very friendly 2022 fashion, be like, hey, by the way, like, what's your Instagram handle? Like, what's this, what's that? But that now becomes like a company asset, right? Because now if, John Smith leaves, but he's built up a social media account to a couple of thousand people that he's prospected, potentially have shaken hands with, well, all of that hard work is no longer just like gone whenever he decides to, enter the new phase in his life. But now that becomes company asset, right? Like this is a way to remarket to all of those people, but it also seems like it's a great way to bring on and attract new talent, right? So from a restoration perspective, assuming that you want to make that part of your culture, really teach people like on your team, like how to use social media, like how to get comfortable, come up with concepts and titles and ideas for what, themes for what content could look like while you're out in the field and while you're meeting people and what some of these luncheons look like and things of that nature. And in some weird roundabout way, you're kind of like in helping your employees kind of find a new way of expression. But at the same time, they're also kind of building the company brand as well. And then the friends and family are going to see that and be like, wow, this seems like he seems like he's really having a good time working for this company. He seems really happy over there. That's the kind of organization that I want to work with. Have you seen that those are like really good angles or things that business owners should be looking at?
From the employee, from the team member, to want to do that first and foremost. But even if you're trying to get them to do that, because I see what you're saying, right? Is like they become yet another stream for your company to bring in business and bring in potential other team members. But another idea is to give really strict parameters to your team members of what they should be doing. So like, for example, roofing companies, when you do your final inspection, just ask the client, hey, can we take a selfie together so we could show you're here? I can show my boss that, we met up and everything, right? Now you have a picture with the client. You can post that. Obviously, you need a release and all that jazz, but you can post a picture with the client saying another happy customer, right? Or, hey, next time, when you get on the roof and you're doing an initial inspection, just, obviously take a video, take a couple of pictures, and we can use those to post saying I was on a roof today. So maybe giving them specific parameters of what they should be looking for and then using that to post, instead of just kind of willy-nilly whenever you see a content opportunity, because that might be a little bit overwhelming to somebody who's new.
Right. So we're kind of setting you up here. Is there ever really bad publicity, especially when showing like your own personality and the things that you enjoy? Do you have any stories about that?
I might. So the answer is no, I don't think there's bad publicity, because here's a story. So I posted a photo in my bathing suit, a one piece, not even a bikini, but a one piece at a pool, right? And I used that photo to promote my podcast, The Modern Professional, which is a podcast for other professionals, attorneys, realtors, adjusters, anybody, right? Teaching them how to grow 7-figure companies like I have. So I posted a picture online, me at the pool saying, hey, new podcast episode. Someone commented a nasty, nasty comment. I won't even repeat what the comment was here, but it was nasty. But luckily, a lot of followers came to my defense in response to that comment. And one of them was a public adjuster. And she basically said, this is a terrible comment. I would love to work with you, Britt. Let's get together. And we did get together. We had lunch together, and now we're partners. Now we work together. They refer business to us. We refer business to them. So it's a great relationship. And it came out of a nasty, negative experience that could have been like bad publicity. I could have deleted that photo and said, or that reel, I could have deleted that and said, oh, like I'm getting, bad comments. People are attacking me. I'm going to remove it. But I didn't. So let's go. That's great engagement. Push the reel to more people. So, and it ended up working out for me, because now we're getting business from a whole new person. So I don't think there's there's no such thing as bad publicity. It can all work out in your favor. It just has to be strategic, and it needs to be related to your personal brand.
Right. And it just goes to show that the people that are going to end up doing business with you are the people that you probably want to be doing business with anyways, right? Like right. If you're comfortable, doing whatever it is that you do and comfortable enough to post it on social media and still somehow tie that into, because it is part of who you are, right? Which is weird, because what was it? Something along like attorneys don't wear bathing suits, or like never.
Yeah, I would never hire an attorney that wears a bathing suit, which is like, I wasn't even promoting my law firm. I was promoting my podcast. But it's also like, archaic thought process of like, oh my gosh, a woman can't wear a bathing suit online. That's so crazy. She needs to wear a suit every day. A one piece too, right? You know what I mean? Like, right. Imagine if I was wearing a bikini, but it's that kind of thing, right? I would never work with that person. Like, we would not get along. We don't have the same values. We do not have the same outlook on life. So it doesn't even matter, because I'm attracting the right people to me, which is an amazing female entrepreneur that I'm very happy to be working with. So
right, exactly. And just goes to show, right? Like that's the kind of the power of, like, everybody talks about prospecting and trying to find like your ideal client. And that's all great. But like to me, using the power of attraction is so much better. In other words, you're just putting yourself out there and you're saying, hey, look, this is kind of like my thought process. I'm not, perfect human being and, that fits into everybody's mold, but this is who I am. And inevitably, just by putting that information out there, there's going to be some people who just really don't like you. They don't like your hair color. They don't like the way that your mannerisms. They don't like this. They don't like that. But who cares? Because there's always going to be a tribe that says, hey, you know what? I totally feel where this person's coming from. I can see myself doing business with this individual. And those are the kind of people that you want to be doing business with anyways. Like, and there's so millions and millions and millions of people that have the potential to see your content. You're going to find someone that is totally going to jive with you. So like trying to cater to everyone, I think is a big mistake as well.
It's a huge mistake because if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one.
Right.
You got to find the people that want to work with you.
Yeah, exactly. So content management, like that seems like it's like the biggest hurdle is like, how do I come up with ideas every day? And I know that you and I have kind of touched on this slightly in the past where it's like, well, you have ideas every single day because you're talking about your business every single day. But, it's a lot easier said than done sometimes, especially once you're already in the mix and you've kind of got the momentum. But especially in like the restoration arena, what we see a lot of is little pictures of, the same old containment that people are setting up or, the moldy baseboard or whatever the case may be. And then just like very, very little like personal interaction. Is it like, what's your recommendation on putting together content so that way it's not overwhelming? So that way it's not, a daily task that you have to think about. What are some of your recommendations on that?
So I teach this in my workshop of how to create 1 week's worth of content in 1 hour. And it's called a content menu. So think about like, if you're sitting down at 5 o'clock and you're saying, okay, what are we going to have for dinner? And you're just like pulling from the ether. Like, are we going to do delivery? Am I going to go to Publix? Am I going to cook something? Are we going to use a meal that we've had yesterday? Right? There's so many options. It's overwhelming because you're trying to just come up with an idea on the fly. But when you go to a restaurant, they hand you a menu and it's like, here's what we've got. You got to pick something or leave, like this is it right here. So
what restaurants are you going to? Talk to you got to pick something or leave.
Pick something or get out. But you have to pick something or you're just going to sit there and be hungry, right? Or if you go to a restaurant, but really it's like you can pick from this set of meals that we have. So you can create the same thing for your content and you can have a menu to pick from. This is the ideas I have. I can pick something from this menu. So I teach my students to create a content menu. And the way you do that is you sit down and you set a timer, usually for 10 or 15 minutes. And for that entire 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to write down ideas and you're going to start with all of the common questions or concerns that you get from a lead or a client, so either somebody who you want to sign or somebody who's already signed with you. Everything you can think of that they've ever asked you in whatever way they've asked you. Then after that, you're going to write down everything you could possibly talk about, every topic related to your business or your industry. Doesn't matter if it sounds ridiculous or outrageous. Doesn't matter if it's a duplicate. You're just going to write. You're going to not stop writing for that entire time. And then once you're done, once that timer goes off, you have all these crazy ideas written down on paper. You're going to organize those ideas into different sections. So just like a menu is appetizers and mains and entrees and desserts, you're going to organize all those ideas into specific topics. So maybe it's topics, however it makes sense to you. You don't necessarily need to use these kind of topics, but maybe you group one topic into questions from leads or questions about this specific service or things related to this kind of law, right? So you group them all up into, 3-4 sections, something like that. And then those are going to be kind of your pillars. So in order to create content that's cohesive, you want to have the same types of content that you're putting out that has a theme, if you will, that's called a pillar, so that you're not just kind of like going off course and talking about all these different things and it feels very chaotic and not cohesive. So once you have your content menu organized, now when you sit down to create content or you're creating content, one day you're going to a house and you're like, I've got to create something. You can pull an idea from this content menu instead of just coming out from the ether. So maybe you're going to do a three tips if this happens to your house, or what to do if you can't find where to shut off the water or how to shut off the water to your house. I would love to see that video. Something like that, right? So you pull from this content menu so that you're not kind of just trying to look for the ether. What do I make today? It's okay, I'm pulling from this idea and this is what we're going to make going into this project, or this is what I'm going to make today.
Is there a preferred method right now? Individual posts versus reels versus particular platform?
Yeah, reels are blowing up right now on Instagram, and TikTok's just also like blowing up right now. So those are like short form videos. I think actually TikTok just increased their limit to like 3 minutes, which I think is kind of ridiculous, but something that's like 30 to 60 seconds max, something that's really quick and easy to digest and, give somebody a connection piece. You've got a hook in the beginning where you're hooking them in with something. They're going to learn something or they're going to see something funny, and then you're giving them that actionable piece at the end. So that's really like blowing up right now. Even on YouTube, there's YouTube Shorts now, which is the same thing as TikTok or Reel. It's a short form video.
Right. And short form videos lately is just like, that's like what people have the mental bandwidth to consume. Right. And it's funny, right? Cause it's like all of these like small little bits, but as soon as you find something that you like, or you find someone's page that you like, all of a sudden you'll find yourself like really engaged with that person's style of content, which then leads to like the next question, right? Is it the talking head videos and those are the videos that kind of people should make, or should they, cause I know that you do a lot of like with the audios and, you make them funny, you make them super engaging. Like, is there one method that people should try to get comfortable with? And of course, not everybody's going to feel comfortable with a certain type of method, but what's the style that you find happens to hook the audience for the longest amount of time and really engage?
For engagement, I find that mostly entertaining videos are best, something that people can relate to or they think is kind of like funny, maybe not funny, but some kind of emotion, right, that ties them back. Those will usually get more engagement. So that pulls people into your page, it pulls people into your content. But then what gets the most leads at conversions for me is a talking head video where I'm giving an actionable tip or giving a step or giving some type of information. But those don't necessarily get the most engagement per se, right? So like the posts that get the most likes don't necessarily turn into the leads. But the posts that get the most saves, like the actionable steps, those will turn into DMs and leads and conversions.
So I'm sure that there's probably someone out there who's like, well, yeah, well, it's easy for you to quantify what it is that you do. If I was Lawyer Britt and I, was just talking about this one subject, I could easily quantify that. But I'm, a water mitigation or a mold guy, or I'm this or I'm that. And, I've got all of these different lead sources. How do I know that I'm not just wasting my time and that there's actually going to be something that is measurable from my quote unquote social media efforts? How would you address that?
Well, you need to start. So social media is a long game. Obviously, there's paid traffic, but I'm speaking really towards organic because that's how I started. I had all organic content in the beginning. So you're going to need to put out a quantity of content to show people, give social proof, if you will, that you are competent, you know what you're talking about, you're a good person to work with, you have the same values they do. So you're putting out that content in the beginning so that you'll start to reap the benefits, right? It's like planting the seed now so that you have the harvest later. And then as you start harvesting, you continuously have that harvest from all the content that you put out there. So you're going to start seeing people DM you or call you from social media. And, if you're starting to put out content, if you have a team that's taking intakes and leads, you have to have that person asking, where did you hear about us? Right? Oh, I saw your video on Instagram. I ask everybody that. I get DMs and calls and emails all the time. Hey, where'd you find me? Oh, on YouTube. Oh, I found you on Instagram, right? I mean, so many of the referral partners we have, I found on Instagram where they DM'd me and we, started a relationship. So I can see, like, verifiably, I track what the results are from content. So you're just going to have to track it in the beginning. It might feel like zero because it might be zero, but you need to have that social proof. You need to start building up that content bank so that you can reap the rewards later.
Yeah. And the other thing too, is depending on how much, and again, there's so many ways to track, right? Whether it's like tracking phone numbers or different types of tracking software out there. But, depending on how much content you're putting out in different mediums. I mean, there's, tons of services where for a very, very affordable amount of money on a monthly basis, you can have like 10 phone numbers. So that means if you're creating content on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, like each one of those, or you're sending out postcards or whatever it is that your mechanisms are, or even on your physical card, you can have different phone numbers for like each one of these, like different mediums. And that way, when you get that call, you still ask them like, hey, by the way, where did you originally like see us? They might say, oh, well, I saw this like thing on Instagram, but then the phone number that they called off on was like YouTube right? And both are like amazing data points, because now you know that somehow, some way, like maybe they found you on Instagram, but then they're also following you on YouTube. And if you weren't collecting that data, and it's funny like how many people don't have like multiple phone numbers for their business because they want to have this like branded phone number, and it's like a must. This is like the only way that you can get in contact with us. But like there's like so many ways to make sure that the tracking is on point.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We do have multiple phone numbers, although we do have the our main phone number on social media. Don't think I've ever changed that. But for other advertising campaigns and whatnot, we do have different phone numbers to track that.
What do you think about long form, the longer form content using platforms like more dedicated like YouTube, and also restoration contractors? If you're looking at that industry, who do you think they should actually be creating content for? Should they be creating content for the end customer, the end consumer, meaning the residential homeowner? Or should they be creating content that is more geared for and attractive to other pros in their industry that may be referral partners?
We have done both, but especially in the beginning, I was targeting the end consumer, so the property owner, because that's who we represent in the end, and even putting out YouTube videos for, how to sue your home insurance company. If you Google that right now, I'm sure one of my videos will come up in the, first few for YouTube. Even those have attracted roofers and public adjusters and restoration companies to using our firm, because they see that this is the kind of law we practice. These are the kind of people we help. So the same thing for restoration companies. If you're creating content for the end user, there are many end users or many property owners out there that could be following you, looking at your content, and that creates social proof so that your referral partners see, oh, hey, tons of people are into their content. Tons of people work with this company. I'm going to work with them too.
Yeah, I guess there's really no right or wrong way of doing it. It's just a matter of just picking a medium, whatever it is that you're comfortable with, and just sticking with it. And of course, different mediums and different platforms are going to have different results. So if you're not necessarily totally comfortable with, let's say, like Instagram, just because someone found success on Instagram doesn't mean that, you can't find a new platform or like a new medium. You just got to find something, I guess, that ultimately you're going to feel really comfortable with, that you can commit to long-term. Let people know that you're not just a flash in the pan and that you've actually got something to say. And eventually, with enough, hard work and energy, like you should be yielding some kind of results from your efforts, right?
Yeah, you definitely should. I always tell people to start with the platform that they spend the most time on, because that's usually where they're most comfortable, what they understand the most. And if you are totally comfortable on YouTube, you love YouTube and you want to make YouTube videos, but you're saying, well, I need to do Instagram because Lawyer Britt has success on Instagram.
Right.
But you hate Instagram, you're never going to stick with it, and you're not going to, really feel comfortable posting, and your energy is not going to come off right. So I always tell people, start with what you use the most and what you're most comfortable with, and start from there. But I do think that whatever platform you're on, I don't care, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, I think that video is most important and showing your face is most important, especially as the business owner, because people want to see what you're like, what you value, how you speak, how you talk. They want to be connected to you and feel like they know you so that they can work with your company and you're not just like a logo. Right.
Yeah. And showing a little bit of your lifestyle is not bad at all. Like, it's called spade to spade. Like, people want to do business with successful people. Right. Or someone who's on their way to being successful. Like, you could just tell. It's like, okay, you're young, you're hungry, you're out there. Like, this is like your first gig, whatever, but you're like moving every single day. Like, people will see that and be like, all right, cool, I can get behind this person. Right. And I think that that's important, right? Like, you don't necessarily always have to be like a talking head. Like, you can show some of the things that you're doing, how you're doing them. And I think that inevitably, like, that just draws people, good quality people that have the ability to actually move the needle for your business to you, right? As opposed to just like always kind of being like this like small little, black, blank wall behind you, and you're just like a talking head giving away this information. It's like, it's kind of hard to gauge like who you are as an individual. Right. So like showing a little bit of that flair, whatever flair means for you, is important. Like, that's just part of the human element, like how we meet each other.
Think about sales. Like, most people who are in our industry are sales oriented, right? They're in the field, they're in someone's house, they're presenting a contract, they're saying, this is what we can do. Here's our payment plans, whatever. Like, that's a human to human connection. They're not interacting with a logo. They're not interacting with the company. They're interacting with the person and asking them questions. Okay, are you sure you can handle this? What's going to happen to my home, right? So just having that human element, very important.
That's awesome. And I think that you're going to be doing, you currently have, I know, a course that you did on social media and kind of helping, pros up their game on that front. And you're doing it again towards the end of the year?
Yes, toward the end of this year. And if you're interested in that, yes, you can get on the wait list by viewing my workshop, Accelerated Content.
Okay, cool. So what I'll do for everybody who's watching, listening, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link in the video description as well as in the show notes. I guess you don't have a date as of yet for the actual course, or do you? Do you?
I don't. It's going to be a surprise.
Yeah. Okay, it's going to be a surprise. All right. But meanwhile, you can go ahead, click on the link, check that out. And if you've been thinking about growing your social media presence and figuring out how to take your content and not make it a daily task, definitely go ahead and check that out. And then last thing, when should someone start looking at hiring someone to lighten the load of social media management?
As soon as you're getting a negative return on investment. So if you feel like you're spending too much time creating and posting the content and not enough time harvesting the leads and talking to the people that are coming from your content, then you're not spending your time in the right place, especially as the business owner or the marketer or whatever your position is. Obviously, you are producing content to bring in leads and bring in more business. And if you're getting to a point where you're spending too much time on creating the content and posting the content, not enough time on you really reaping the benefits of it and converting people that you find from it, you need to have somebody else start doing the admin work.
And you can find relatively inexpensive people to help you out with that, right?
Oh yeah. I have a wonderful social media manager that I found. I think I found her on Upwork, and she's domestic and she is fantastic, but you can find great people to help you. What I do personally is I come up with the idea, I create the raw content and a little blurb about this is what I want this to look like. I send it to my team and they edit it and they get my approval. Then they, post it and create the caption and everything else. So it's you want to be at a point where your input is what's really important for you to do, right? My face, my idea. They produce it, and then I'm reaping the benefits of it, getting the marketing, getting the leads.
Awesome. And you can learn, I'm assuming that people can learn how to do that in a fast and effective way within the workshop and the course that you put on, right?
Definitely. Yes. That is we talk about VAs and hiring a team and a whole module in the program.
Awesome. Cool. So make sure all my dominators out there, check that out. And Lawyer Britt, Brittany Alexander, thank you so much for jumping on with us today and helping us dominate. And as per usual, Restoration Nation, make sure that you hustle, hack, dominate. We'll catch you on the next one.
You've been listening to Restoration Domination, your #1 resource for tips, tricks, and hacks to help your business grow. Subscribe to our channel and follow us for more Restoration Domination. And follow our host at Rico Garcia Jr. on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Till next time, this is Restoration Domination. Hustle, hack, dominate.